After you finish painting your pet, an optional step is to add a splash of color behind the head. You'll want your color to be focused wherever you added masking fluid. So I added masking fluid over the whiskers, and the top of the head is quite light as well. So I'm going to add some color to make those areas really pop. I'm going to start by painting clean water in the areas that I want to add color. This is known as a wet on wet technique. So before I add the color, I need to fully wet that area of paper. I tend to work on one side of the splash of color at a time. That's because I find the water tends to dry faster, and so it's usually a good idea to do half at a time. You'll want to be very meticulous during this step because remember that wherever you wet the paper, the color will run to that area. So you'll want to make sure to have clean edges all around your pet. For this color splash, I'm using a phthalo turquoise mixed with some water. I will eventually drop in a little bit more dense pigment, but the first layer of color that I'm adding wet to wet is needing to be mixed with some water. I'm going to get very close to the edge of my dog, making sure to not paint over the fur that I've already painted. Now I'm going to dry off my brush so that I have a completely dry brush to lift off some of the color around the edges. By lifting some of the color around the edge of this color splash, I'm going to soften the edge so that it's not so hard of an edge around this color splash. I'll then drop in a little bit more color towards the base of the color splash to have it a little bit more dense and grounded, and in a few other areas such as around the ear and behind the whiskers. I'm going to do the same thing on the upper section of my splash. First, I'm going to wet the area that I want to add color to. I'm going to speed up this section of the video to save time. Now that the area that I want to paint is wet with clean water, I'm going to drop in my phthalo turquoise. Whenever I am creating a splash behind my pets, I don't want to make the splash a perfect circle. So here in the upper section, I'm going to extend it slightly in the upper left corner, and that's just going to create some interest for the eye. Once again, I'm cleaning off my brush, so I have a dry brush, and I'm going to blend the edges so that I don't have that hard of an edge. I'm moving on to the last segment of my color splash on this left side. And once again, I'm going to wet it first and then drop my color in. I need to mix a little bit more phthalo turquoise with water before I drop it in on this left-hand side. If you are mixing your own color using multiple colors from your wells, make sure that you mix enough color to completely cover the splash around your dog. While the area is still wet, I'm going to drop in a little bit more pigment around the edges of the head just to create a little bit more interest in this color splash so that there are areas of higher density and areas of lower density.